Hello everybody, Trevor here. Remember my top 10 most wanted worlds in the Kingdom Hearts series? Well, there are a lot of Disney movies I'd like to see in future games besides the ones mentioned in that particular video. I would also like to see Emperor's New Groove, Treasure Planet, Atlantis: The Lost Empire, and of course, many more Pixar films such as A Bug's Life. However, there are certain Disney movies and other properties that I actually don't want to see in the Kingdom Hearts franchise, and that's why I'm making this video. For this list, not only will I include new candidates, but also a few returning worlds. Oh, and if you legitimately like these films, that's totally fine. In fact, I can see where you're coming from in terms of nostalgia. Trust me, I have that feeling a lot too. But that doesn't mean these are free of criticism. Now without further ado, let the Disney magic begin. Number 10 is Chicken Little. I've mentioned this already in the honorable mentions in my top 10 worlds I'd like to see in Kingdom Hearts video, and I originally wanted this movie to appear in Kingdom Hearts as a world just like what they did to Mulan and The Lion King. But looking back at it now, it certainly hasn't aged very well. I mean, there are a lot of mean-spirited moments and characters that I just don't have time to mention them all here. While I don't mind Chicken Little as a summon in Kingdom Hearts 2, but I do mind the fact that this movie sucks monkey balls. It also rips off elements from Shrek, including additional toilet humor and burp jokes. And to make matters worse, it doesn't even have a good premise. Like, it starts off with baseball, and then it goes to the space alien plot. And to quote the late Roger Ebert, I don't care whether it's 2D, 3D, CGI, or hand-drawn, it all goes back to the story. And I do have to agree with him on that. Number 9, Home on the Range. Like Chicken Little, this film isn't as good as I remembered it anyway. Sure, the 2D animation is decent for the most part, but it's not very funny, and it's your basic Wild West story but with cows. The only things I kind of like about this movie are the train chase sequence because, you know, I love trains, especially in scenes where they crash, and Jennifer Lilley's performance as Grace. She can be funny sometimes. Not as funny as Robin Williams' Genie, but still. But other than those two things, I find the film pretty forgettable in terms of being too wacky and not as funny as some of Disney's other films like The Emperor's New Groove. And do you know what the sad thing was? This was Disney's last traditionally animated film until the releases of The Princess and the Frog and Winnie the Pooh 2011. But hey, at least Princess and the Frog was a huge improvement over this mess. Number 8, Olympus Colossus. I know I'm going to get some hate for this, but I'm really tired of this world appearing in almost every single Kingdom Hearts game. Not to say that it's a bad world, I just wanted Disney and Square Enix to come up with something new instead of reusing the same old worlds from previous games. Speaking of old worlds, why can't they reuse Mirage Arena instead? I mean, that world has so much story potential, and it was originally served as an online mode for Birth by Sleep. Oh, and did you know that Laguna Lawyer from the Final Fantasy series was going to be introduced in this world as head of the arena before being cut? Yeah, I kind of wish they hadn't done that earlier. I mean, I'd like to know the origins of Mirage Arena and what its original purpose was. Number 7, Wonderland. Like Olympus Colossus, Wonderland is one of the most overused Disney worlds in the Kingdom Hearts franchise because it looks boring and repetitive. It first appeared in the first game, then it returned in a few more including Rechain of Memories, Recoded, and most recently, Dark Road, just to name a few. Hopefully in the offline version of Dark Road, they will introduce some new Disney worlds instead of reusing old ones from previous games. For instance, I would like to see the Sword and Stone world in Dark Road, where Xehanort, Ericus, and all of their classmates meet Merlin for the first time or something like that. Number 6, 100 Acre Wood. Again, another reoccurring Disney world that needs to stop. And don't worry guys, this will be the final returning Disney world on this list. 100 Acre Wood's only purpose in this series was to be a family-friendly world full of minigames for mostly younger kids. Also, the command attack was changed to hit for some reason. I get that Winnie the Pooh is aimed at a younger audience, but come on! This is Kingdom Hearts! Why not add in some Heartless in the 100-Acre Wood instead of having these boring minigames that keep coming and going? Oh, and does anyone remember this YouTuber named C4D Nerd who made this Kingdom Hearts 3 parody trailer where the Heartless invaded 100-Acre Wood, and the part where Eeyore got Norded in the end? Man, that was hilarious. I wish something like that would happen in the official canon. Number 5. Most of the direct-to-DVD Disney sequels. I know a lot of people hate the live-action remakes with a flaming passion, but let me tell you, they're nothing compared to the utter horror and crap that are the direct-to-video Disney sequels. At least the live-action remakes mostly stay true to their original counterparts, but with a few minor differences. But here, these are wasted potential. You'd think that Disney would do an excellent job with these, but no. They don't even try with some of them. Sure, there are a few decent ones, but most of them are absolutely terrible. Take Mulan 2, for example. The animation is good for the most part, with a few hiccups here and there. But the plot is terrible, the songs are forgettable, and the fact that they made Mushu the main antagonist just ruins it for me. Mushu is supposed to be a comic relief character and a good guy, not a bad guy. In addition, there wasn't much action going on in Mulan 2, unlike the original, which had more exciting moments like the avalanche scene. Another perfect example is Atlantis 2, Milo's Return. At least with Mulan 2, I can kinda understand what's going on despite the plot holes, but here, I can barely comprehend what's going on. There are too many things going on at once that I just can't watch it anymore. Overall, most of these sequels are terrible and should never, ever be in the Kingdom Hearts series at all. Number 4. High School Musical. It's stupid, what else can I say? I mean, if you like High School Musical, that's totally fine. But for me, I don't want any elements of it in Kingdom Hearts because not only that the setting looks too realistic, but the songs are forgettable and the characters are weird. Therefore, I don't see this as a world. Oh, and did you know that there was a late April Fool's Day joke back in 2009 where they said that High School Musical was going to be in Kingdom Hearts 358 over 2 days as a world? Yeah, I'm glad it was just a prank and not the real thing. Otherwise, it wouldn't feel right. Number 3. Mars Needs Moms. This movie is boring. The only thing I like about that movie is Gribble, who has better motion capture graphics than the kid character. It even has a lot of plot holes and padding, which makes the movie more tedious to watch than it already was. But what's worse about this movie is that this was the real reason why Image Movers went out of business. I mean, what the fudge? I also heard they were going to make more movies like a Yellow Submarine remake, a Who Framed Roger Rabbit sequel, and a Nutcracker adaptation, which I would have loved to see happen. But no, thanks to this crappy movie, we'll never see them come true. Say what you will about The Black Cauldron, Home on the Range, and Chicken Little, but at least they didn't make Disney go out of business, and they had the potential to be good films. But Mars Needs Moms, on the other hand, it does not deserve to be greenlit at all. Number 2. Any of the Disney live-action remakes. In my honest opinion, most of these live-action remakes are so-so. They're not exactly as bad as most of the direct-to-DVD Disney sequels in terms of writing, but there are some I actually do enjoy, like The Jungle Book 2016 and the 1996 101 Dalmatians with Glenn Close. However, there are a few I do hate, including Maleficent and The Lion King 2019. Let's talk about Maleficent first. What I don't like about this film is that they completely botched her character here. I mean, she's supposed to be enemies with Aurora, not BFFs. It's not all bad, though. For example, I love Lana Del Rey's cover for Once Upon a Dream. It really intensifies me. And I did like the first half of the film showing the origins of Maleficent when she had wings. But other than that, this movie is wasted potential. But my least favorite live-action remake of all would have to be The Lion King because it's way too similar to its original counterpart but with added padding in between scenes. While some people might say that the Mulan remake is worse, and I can understand that, but I still think this one is the absolute worst of them all because it's the most pointless and most boring mess compared to its colorful and more expressive predecessor that is the 1994 version. And besides, this movie is far too realistic. Most of the characters have blank expressions and don't emote too well. Basically, all I'm saying here is that they should only, and I do mean only, use the original cartoon versions because they're more memorable than their live-action counterparts. And that's why they all get the number 2 spot on this list. Before I get to my number 1 pick, here are some honorable mentions as well as one dishonorable mention. Any animated film starring cute animals, whether it be Fox and the Hound, Bambi, Dumbo, Lady and the Tramp, 101 Dalmatians, and Oliver and Company. I actually like these films, though it can be a bit hard for them to appear as worlds in Kingdom Hearts because of certain elements, like if they're going to use some of them as worlds in the games, then they'll probably have to transform Sora and Goofy into dogs while Donald can be a regular duck. But Dumbo might work as a world, and they probably don't even need to transform in order to interact with the world's inhabitants, so that's why they didn't make it on this list. The Black Cauldron. I thought this movie was okay. Not my most favorite film or even the greatest, but I think it has more potential to be a world in the Kingdom Hearts series than Mars Needs Moms. I mean, I think a boss fight with the Horned King would be pretty awesome. And the number 1 properties I don't want to see in Kingdom Hearts are any other properties bought by Disney, whether it be Marvel, Star Wars, or Fox. The main reason why I don't want these to appear in Kingdom Hearts is because they were not created by Disney. Let's start off with Fox. I still like Fox, but to some extent, I just don't want any of their properties in Kingdom Hearts, especially The Simpsons. Why? Because first of all, The Simpsons is created by Fox, not Disney. Secondly, it's not a children's show. It'd be kind of weird seeing Homer and his family and friends in the Kingdom Hearts universe because it has swearing, alcohol, and occasional sexual content like in Natural Born Kissers. And I know some people might say, oh, but Trevor, didn't they also add in Pirates of the Caribbean in the games? Well, that addition makes sense because Pirates of the Caribbean was created by Disney, and it's based on a ride at Disneyland and Disney World. Also, I can understand why they had to censor some parts in that world, including blood and gore. Otherwise, the game would be rated T for teen. As for Blue Sky Studios, for one thing, it was already shut down by Disney. Secondly, as stated before, none of their properties were created by Disney, so I'd rather stick to Disney, Pixar, and Square Enix created properties. Now let's talk about Star Wars. I'll admit, at first I thought The Last Jedi was so-so, but after doing some research on the previous movies as well as interviews with Mark Hamill, I started to resent The Last Jedi. Where do I begin with this one? Well, let's talk about Luke Skywalker first. I hate the fact that he's completely out of character in this one. He basically threw his dad's lightsaber away like it's a piece of scrap paper, acts as a pessimistic hermit on a lonely island, and tries to kill his nephew in his sleep just because he's evil. The real Luke Skywalker wouldn't do such a thing. In the original trilogy, he's this optimistic guy who never gave up and tries to get his father back on the good side. If you want more information on why The Last Jedi sucks, then I suggest you watch Misanthropony's full-length review of it. Trust me, it's good. As for The Rise of Skywalker, I consider it as bad, if not worse than The Last Jedi. I mean, there was no given explanation on why Emperor Palpatine returned other than the stupid cloning thing, which still doesn't even make any sense whatsoever. Not to mention that a lot of the supporting cast, including Finn and Kylo, are just wasted. Unlike the previous 2 trilogies, which actually had consistency by the way, there's no consistency here at all. I mean, the casino scene went nowhere, Snoke died too early, and they even had the gall to kill off Han, Luke, and Leia. That is disgusting. No wonder Kathleen Kennedy is so hated. I even feel very bad for some of the actors who worked on this, especially Mark Hamill himself. Lastly, I want to talk about Marvel. Although I'm glad that Disney did a decent job with their properties, especially with the Avengers series, but like I said before, Marvel wasn't created by Disney, therefore it should not be in Kingdom Hearts. The only exceptions of bought properties I can tolerate in the series are Pixar and a couple of Touchstone films such as Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which I hope will appear in the game someday. Why? Because unlike most branches of Disney, Pixar at least feels like classic Disney, and they make some of the best films in the world such as Toy Story, Monsters Inc., Coco, Onward, etc. As for Nightmare Before Christmas and Who Framed Roger Rabbit, those are the only two Touchstone films that are considered Disney, while most of the other Touchstone films are more realistic and mature. So there you go, my top 10 worlds I don't want to see in Kingdom Hearts. If you've enjoyed this video, please feel free to leave me a like, comment, and subscribe if you want to. I also would like to know which Disney properties you don't want to see in the Kingdom Hearts games. Oh, and if any of these do happen to appear in Kingdom Hearts, then that's fine, I guess, as long as they rewrite the Star Wars sequel trilogy first, or better yet, use the original trilogy instead. This is Trevor Davis, and may your hearts be your guiding key. Seriously though, have a great day.